FakeSteel Armory reached out to me and asked if I want to give some of their foam weapons a try. Normally I prefer real steel, but I've heard good things about them and was curious. So they sent 2 different longswords, a pair of Roman spatha, a pair of 1796 style light cavalry sabers, an axe, and a spiked mace. This is not a paid review, by the way, and as usual, I'll try to be as unbiased as possible. In other words, fake steel, no fake review, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I'll shut up now. Alright, so let's take a look at these trainers from FakeSteel. Xian will also share his opinion and impression. You can immediately tell the balance is very realistic. They are, of course, lighter than a real sword, but the balance is exactly what I would expect for a sword like this, right? And the handle is very comfortable. You can see here it swells in the center and it's got a riser. Nice fishtail style pommel. And the guard is also flexible for safety. Like, it's rigid enough, I think, to work with. We'll take a look at that in a moment. And then, of course, you have the squishy edges, right? So that's what makes them safe. Well, safe for cutting. We'll get to thrusting in a bit. What do you think about the handling?
They handle pretty, like you said, pretty close to the real thing. The balance is, probably three inches, I would say, from the crossguard on each one. We did put them through the paces at the club, and they stood up pretty well for contact between themselves, right? I wouldn't...
you can't combine them with anything else.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to do it with anything else.
Not even nylon wouldn't be a good idea. They would tear them up.
No.
They are meant to be soft after all.
Yeah, like you said, can't really thrust with them, but they're okay with the cut, and they're very forgiving, especially when you make contact. They're really, really forgiving. So that was really, really good to see. This one, of course, has the scent stopper.
Right, I should show that up close too. So it's a different pommel here. Quite nice. You can see the seams here. You can feel them a bit too, but not in any concerning way. And of course, you'd be using them mostly with gloves. I would definitely want to do the main advantage of these, of course, is that you need hardly any protective gear. Obviously, mask. You got to protect your head and face. And gloves are definitely recommended.
Yeah.
Like you said, you tried a little bit without, just to see.
Yeah, right? I tried a little bit without, and it was fine. But that's not everyone's cup of tea. I would suggest, though, that, if you have them, put them on, just some sort of glove. And for folks that may not be used to contact, they could want to put on a little forearm protection if they need to, but you don't need anything more than that.
Joint protection, I mean, it might be a good idea, but you probably don't even need that.
Yeah, like even if you make some contact like this, you'll register that you've been hit, but it's not enough that you say, yeah. So that is a huge selling point.
Let's show another big advantage of these, which is they actually stick in the bind.
Yeah.
So much like sharp edges, you can't just easily, I mean, you can, with sharp edges you can kind of force it, but there's going to be a lot of friction. So you can absolutely kind of, stick to the bind and work that way. And then when you want to release from the bind, you can, turn the flat and then, cut from there, which is excellent for binding and winding.
Especially for people who might not have access to sharps and train instruction to go with that. Yeah. You get a pretty good sense of, okay, here's what might happen when you actually put these things together.
How's the bounce? I found with some swords they tend to bounce quite a bit. As you
so
hit,
these ones they don't bounce.
We just
a little bit, just a little stick.
There's a little bit of a bounce, but not too much.
Like I said, when we put them through the paces and people were going through some actual full contact sparring with them, there was not a whole lot of bounce. So you get a lot of just that, right? So it's almost like wood in a sense, where it's just like dunk, right? Which is kind of similar to steel in a sense too, right? So you get a little bit of that.
As far as the guards go, like if you cut down here, I want to catch it, can do that. So
they really work for these, right? So you get all the benefit of control.
Yeah, you can wrench with that
and all that
all
stuff.
of that,
Yeah.
which is great. But again, at the same time, they're pretty safe.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't recommend a murder stroke. That's too much. I mean, I suppose in full gear you could do that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, don't do it.
Well, we did have some folks do some half sorting with them and everything, and it went pretty good, as well as we expected for something like this. And they also stand up pretty well to when you hit with the flat versus the edge. So instead of just hitting with the edge over top, you can actually hit with the flat, and you get something, a bit of purchase as well from here, and then you can strike. So it does not really hamper your ability to do a vast range of things with.
They look quite good.
Yeah.
I think especially from a distance. You can see, of course, like they're bulkier than a real blade.
Yeah, bulkier than they have to be, exactly. So,
and it's got this sort of, you know, utilitarian look to them, where it's like it's simple, but you don't need anything else.
I mean, this one is quite elegant. This one is utilitarian. This one, you know, they clearly...
It's got a little more, you know, the hooked ends.
Yeah, hooked ends and everything.
Yeah, this one is a little nicer. Handling, weight. Again, they're lighter, as they need to be safe without gear.
For someone just starting out, in terms of the lightness is a great thing, because you don't have to worry too much about over swinging or losing control, they're very, very easily manipulated.
Yep. At the same time, they're not so light as to feel like toys or anything. Like, I would think this is probably like 75% of a light longsword. You know, like this, of course, quite a range. But there are longswords that weigh only about a kilo or like 1.1, something like that. And this is probably, I forgot, but it's probably like 750, 800.
Yeah, it feels like a 750 gram object, I would say.
So yeah,
and it's balanced enough that you definitely can see the benefit in having the two hands-on, but at the same time you get a lot of one-handed stuff.
Oh yeah, you can definitely do one-handed Fiore shenanigans with this, which is good. Negatives, what comes immediately to mind is thrusts.
The biggest negative is the stiffness.
Yeah, basically you can't. The very tip is squishy, right? So it bends, you know, it compresses, but then below that, it's rigid. So there's some flex to it. Like, you can flex it, but just nowhere near enough. For sparring, if, you know, considering that a lot of thrusts are done with the entire body, like absolutely unsafe. With fairly heavy gear, you would get away with it, I suppose. But generally, you would have to...
You would have to have something quite substantial on your chest and in the throat area.
Yep.
I would say the flex is pretty close to the real thing.
Yeah.
Like,
depends on the type, but
depending on the real thing. Like, but for fencing,
actually, in terms of sharp blades, this is very close to a lot
very
of them,
close to a sharp blade. But in terms of what we need for fencing safety, no.
You can just touch, but for that you already need a lot of control for it not to go badly in, you know, sparring. So, of course, for HEMA that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because there's just thrusts in almost anything.
Yeah.
So with longswords, thrusts are very important. We have others here as well. Basically 1796 cavalry sabers. And the blade is much shorter. They only had the shorter blade available. So it should be more like this. So it's more like a cutlass.
Yeah, it's like a cutlass.
But, you know, of course, in this case, thrusts are not as important. I would say that you can still thrust with these.
Yeah.
Normal.
And people did thrust with these during sparring, and it wasn't a problem. It is a problem with the two-handers, but with these, it was fine. You know.
Yeah, I can see that.
There is not a whole lot of juice behind.
Oh yeah, that's way more flexible.
Way more flexible.
That's interesting. So ironically, the ones that don't rely as much on thrusts are actually safer.
So people in sparring at the club, they really enjoyed these. We have other synthetic 1796s, which are the correct size, and so it was a bit of adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, right? You have to be really close.
You got to be really close.
Like, you're already almost grappling distance.
Exactly. So,
but you can do, you can do the false edge, wrist cuts, and
they handle really well. People really enjoyed them.
This is definitely a lot you can do with that.
Excellent for beginners.
Yeah, they
And
very
folks
much
that
are.
want to just do like light sparring situations and stuff like that. And the thing is, you can do light sparring with them, but at full speed. You don't have to really focus on too much sacrifice of, you know, what you would be usually doing with actually a steel saber.
Yeah.
Right, which is really cool.
To see how they work.
Get a lot of tip control, get a lot of...
Yeah, like a lot. You can very easily do all these shenanigans.
Yep.
Very nice.
They don't deny you anything.
Yes.
Right, you can do whatever you need to do with them. Right? The only thing, the downside with these is they're a bit short, but
yeah,
you can do everything that you need to do, you know, saber-wise. Right? So it really focuses on being able to just, you know, you can just do just this, you know, just work on control, right?
And again, the fact that they actually stick.
And then you get used to that feeling.
This really lends itself to that. As soon as you stick, like you can immediately use that curvature
and the thing
to
is,
pull.
With sharps, that's what it is anyways, right? When two sharp swords come together, it's not like a magnetic lock.
No.
Right? So it's just a different sensation.
Yeah.
Right?
There's just a certain friction in there. Like, I mean, you can imagine if the two blades actually meet edge on edge, then they might lock up a little more because they cut a little notch into each other.
Yes.
Right? So they might stick more then, sort of averaged out.
Yeah.
This is great. Yeah. They perform very well in the bind in that way. And that's exactly what you often don't get, particularly when thinking about, you know, synthetic practice swords. You know, the nylon trainers, they are incredibly slippery. So they're the exact opposite of a real sword in that regard, whereas these do that. So I find these in particular have a bit of a toy-like vibe to them. For one, because they're very light, and you know the way they look. Also, the longswords look better, but I feel like the best looking ones are these, the spatha.
Yeah, these are really cool.
These are very cool. Yes, the blade on this, you know, it's also a little bit shorter than what you might expect. Depends on which type exactly. Yeah. I'm thinking of the Albion one that I used to have, which is probably about like that. But either way, this is still fine.
It's bang on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty convincing wood look as well. If you take a closer look, of course, you can tell that it's not actual wood, but it's a very good, you know, approximation. You know, the peen block there is really nice. Like, that actually, even relatively up close, that actually looks quite a lot like brass. So they did a fantastic job with that. Then you've got, you know, like the bone handle scales, not actual bone obviously, but that's what this represents. And they're very well shaped. These are quite well made. The balance is very much like what you would expect. It's a little further out, of course.
But it's typical for these types of swords too, right? They're very, very blade heavy. It is lighter than the real thing. Yeah. But in terms of the feel of the mass behind the strike, yes, I was just pretty close.
It does, in fact, remind me a lot of that Albion. Like, again, a lighter version, like 75% or something. Maybe a bit less, maybe more like 65. These are also more flexible than longswords.
Yes, they are more flexible.
That's not too bad.
We did sword and shield sparring with them and they held up.
Nice.
Right? Hitting on wooden shields, they held up really well. So for me, it's like, this is kind of like really good quality for any late Roman migration era sword that you want to just drill and do things with or have fun with. This is definitely one of the things you should purchase. Yep.
You know, the way they behave, the way they bind, they stick like pretty substantially.
Yeah.
So you have to actually actively release to, you know, get the edges to unstick.
Right. And they're not going to play like the other swords. So you can, even these ones, there's a lot more mass on the blade.
Yeah.
So you can't do as much of the tip work.
Yeah.
And which is very reminiscent of the age that they're from, right?
Yeah.
The primary defense with these is a shield.
Yeah. So that leaves the question is, because these don't have the problem of stiffness, is there anything else negative
Well,
that we could point out here?
we didn't find any.
Not really. Which makes me skeptical. Usually there's something.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the if you want to really nitpick, like the fact that they do bounce a little bit,
Yes.
as opposed to steel,
Yeah.
sure. Like if we actually give it a good whack, like
Yeah.
they do move away from each other, they bounce. Yeah, but that comes with this sort of tool, like this kind of safe without gear, that sort of
Material.
approach. That's just the inherent downside. Other than that, durability, can't really say too much
No.
about it because we'd have to use these for a long time,
Yes.
you know, like a year plus, to really get a good feel for the durability.
But the one thing I really like about them is the pommel.
Mm-hmm.
The pommel allows a lot of movement in the hand,
Yeah,
whereas if it were a gladius, your hand is confined.
that's a nice thing in terms of versatility. Yeah, because you can use it that way,
Yep.
and I suppose depending on hand size, and if you use bulky gloves, then you may be stuck there unless you put a finger over. But
Well, people didn't find them to be stuck. It just, they're just like, you just get that.
yeah,
Just comes in.
and you can do the sliding
Yep.
cut where you just kind of catch the pommel, cast blow,
Yep.
as it's called. There's a
really
lot
neat.
going on here with these. And I've had other sort of LARPy training swords for HEMA that just weren't as good. These are quite a bit better, both in terms of handling and finish and everything. They look better. Then we also got some fun stuff. Spiked mace and axe. These are quite different in terms of safety. The axe is quite safe
Oh yeah.
because the entire blade flexes. This not so much.
No.
If you hit someone in the head with this, I mean, with a mask it's fine, of course. But
Yeah.
it's not terrible, but
it's
it
a club.
definitely, out of everything we have here, this is by far the hardest hitting one.
Yeah.
So I would recommend protective gear for that, or again, very controlled.
Yeah.
Like taking this in the shin or what,
Yeah.
even just a little bit, the spikes are doing a number on you.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily advise that, even though, again, the design is good
Yep.
because it is squishy. And also I noticed that there is flex to it. Like the handle itself, you can tell, like I can feel the vibration, so you can tell that the whole thing flexes a little bit on impact. So that dissipates some force. And again, it is squishy, including the spikes. You can bend them, they compress quite a bit, but it's still a mace, even if it's all padded and everything. This is the gentlest that a spiked mace can be, but how much does it really mean?
Yeah.
Right, so this one you would have to be careful with, for sure. But I like it. I like the feel. It's nice that it's thickened here at the
Yeah.
end, so that
So there's something, yeah.
something to prevent the hand from just slipping around. The fake wood on this one does not look good. I should show that as well. As good as the fake wood looks on the spatha, this one not so much. That looks really more like a toy. That's not going to convince anyone, even from a distance. And the fake steel as well also doesn't look as convincing. Not that the others are super realistic, but these less so. The axe is definitely very safe. I mean, and same thing, fake wood does not look amazing by any means, but the shape of the axe blade is pretty good, and Again, it's safe. That's the important part. So you can really nail each other with that, and there's no risk of injury. And of course, they are much, much lighter. Like the ratio is different. The swords, again, are probably something like 75% of the weight. This is probably more like 40.
I mean, if you had a steel axe that was that well balanced, that would be amazing.
Oh yeah. The balance is very different. The balance would be like here or so. This is substantially lower. Yeah, that's probably more like 30% of an axe. So you can swing this like a sword, basically. Yeah. But what can you do? If you wanted to make an axe realistic, it would be anything but safe. Can I actually catch a sword blade like this?
You can.
Okay. Okay, give me a
harder one. We found that inspiring that you could. You can also push shields with it as well. Right? The only thing you can't really do with a shield is hook.
You can hook that way? You
can hook the sword because it's soft enough. But with the shield, no.
Yeah, it's not bad. I was wondering if that would work. Give me like a pretty hard downward cut.
And then you get
slips
that.
off.
It slips off.
Slips off, but otherwise, like it withstands it. It doesn't just slip off and go straight down. Yeah. It slips off and goes kind of diagonally, which is all right. Normally with an axe, you would be able to actually keep it there and then control it, but yeah, there's no way you could possibly do that. But you can use the haft defensively, like this kind of thing, and then you have right here, you can pull it and come back around. So that's pretty good. And in fact, it's squishy enough that you can even choke up and strike with that. Yep. That's fine. Even on the knee, you can definitely even do that, which is good. So you would have a bit of an unfair advantage because you would not be able to move an axe quite that nimbly and quickly, but like in order to be safe, I think they did a good job. What do you think?
The same thing, like with all the stuff, like this, it handles really well. It is great for training as a facsimile of the thing. In terms of realism, the swords are a bit more convincing. Yeah. But that's just the trade-off with this type of material.
If both have one, then it's fair in that way.
For what they are, they're very, very nice. They're fun to use.
Yeah. Very nice, yeah.